The message arrived without sound, without color, and without emotion. It appeared on every screen inside the Galactic Council chamber at the same time. No signal trace, no known origin, just a single line written in simple symbols that every species could read. Do not enter human space. The room fell silent. Hundreds of beings from different worlds stared at the words. No threat followed. No explanation came. The message ended there, as if the sender did not care whether it was believed or not. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of cycles. Wars had been fought, empires had risen and fallen, and no warning like this had ever been sent. Some council members felt a strange chill. Others showed clear amusement. Humans were new compared to the ancient civilizations in the room. Quiet, isolated, rarely seen. They had no large alliances, no visible empire, and no history of conquest. To many in the chamber, the warning felt like fear, not power. The supreme arbiter of the council studied the message again. Human space sat near the outer spiral, a wide region of stars surrounded by empty zones. Long-range scans showed little activity. No fleets, no massive cities, no signs of military strength. The arbiter spoke slowly, asking if anyone had more data. None did. Human records were limited. Humans did not share much. They did not attend most galactic gatherings. They did not argue. They simply stayed within their borders. Laughter echoed from one side of the chamber. A warlord species, known for conquest, mocked the warning. They said no space belonged to one civilization alone. They said the galaxy could not be closed by words. Others agreed. Exploration was law. Expansion was survival. If humans wanted peace, they should have spoken clearly. If they wanted war, they should have shown force. A silent message meant nothing. Still, a few council members urged caution. They reminded the chamber that humans had survived every conflict they had faced. That alone was unusual. Humans did not win loudly. They did not claim glory. They simply remained. When asked about their defenses, human diplomats had once replied with a simple phrase, "Enough." No one had understood what that meant. After long debate, the council reached a decision. A small reconnaissance fleet would enter human space. No weapons would be fired. No colonies would be built. It would be a simple test. If humans were truly dangerous, they would respond. If not, the warning would be dismissed forever. The vote passed easily. Confidence filled the chamber. The galaxy had seen many warnings before. None had ever stopped it. The fleet launched within days. 20 ships from 5 civilizations, each advanced, each proud. Their crews felt excitement more than fear. Human space lay ahead, dark and quiet. As the fleet crossed the border, nothing happened. No alarms, no signals, no human ships. The stars looked normal. Too normal. Scanners showed empty systems, untouched planets, silent orbits. Some officers joked that humans had abandoned the region long ago. Hours passed, then days. The fleet moved deeper. Still nothing. No resistance. No greeting. The council watched from afar, growing impatient. Then, without warning, the fleet's internal sensors began to fail. Not all at once. Slowly. One ship lost long-range communication. Another lost navigation data. A third reported strange gaps in time, moments the crew could not remember. The captains requested permission to retreat. The council hesitated. Pride delayed the order. Before a command could be sent, all communication stopped. The chamber erupted into chaos. Technicians tried every frequency. Quantum relays showed nothing but silence. The fleet had not been destroyed. There were no energy spikes, no explosion signatures. It was as if the ships had never existed. Panic spread through the council members who had laughed before. This was not a normal loss. This was something else. Then a signal returned. Weak, broken. A single transmission from one ship, distorted and unstable. The council focused every receiver on it. The image that appeared showed a dark bridge, lights flickering. The alien captain looked older, eyes wide with terror. His voice shook as he spoke. "We did not see them attack," he said. "They did not fire weapons. They did not chase us. They simply decided." He paused, struggling to breathe. Human space is not empty. It is watching. The signal began to break apart. The captain leaned closer to the screen. "They do not defend," he whispered. "They remove." Static filled the chamber. The image froze, then vanished. No more signals followed. Silence returned, heavier than before. The Galactic Council realized something too late. The warning had never been a threat. It had been a fact. Humans had not tried to scare the galaxy. They had tried to save it from a mistake. Somewhere in the dark, human space remained quiet, unchanged, and closed. And the galaxy had just taken its first step toward understanding why no civilization was allowed to enter it. The Galactic Council chamber no longer felt powerful. After the final signal faded, no one spoke for a long time. The empty space where the fleet's data should have been felt like a wound. 20 ships, hundreds of lives, gone without battle, without fire, without proof. The warning on the screen still remained, unchanged. Do not enter human space. Now, it felt less like a message and more like a reminder. In the following cycles, the Council ordered constant scans of the region. Long-range sensors searched every star, every planet, every shadow. Nothing was found. No wreckage. No escape pods. No energy remains. The fleet had not been destroyed in any way the galaxy understood. Records showed no explosion, no collapse, no known weapon use. It was as if the fleet had been erased between one moment and the next. Fear spread across the galaxy. Trade lanes near human space were abandoned. Explorers changed course. Some civilizations demanded the Council seal the region completely. Others refused. They said the galaxy could not fear the unknown forever. They argued that one lost fleet did not prove human supremacy. They said humans were hiding something, and hiding meant weakness. Pride once again grew louder than caution. Inside the Council, pressure rose. The warlike civilizations demanded answers. Their leaders could not accept loss without response. To them, silence was an insult. If humans had power, it had to be measured. If they were dangerous, they had to be challenged. The idea that humans could simply remove a fleet without effort was unacceptable. The Council began to fracture between fear and arrogance. A proposal was made. This time, not a small test. A full observation armada. Hundreds of ships. Advanced shields. Independent communication networks. Every possible safeguard. The goal was not attack, but confirmation. The armada would enter the edge of human space and stop. If humans reacted, the galaxy would finally see how. If nothing happened, the mystery would be broken. After intense debate, the proposal passed by a narrow margin. As the armada prepared, strange reports arrived. Traders spoke of instruments failing near human borders. Pilots reported moments of missing time even outside the forbidden zone. Some claimed they heard voices in empty space, calm and distant, telling them to turn back. These stories were dismissed as fear-driven illusions. The Council needed facts, not rumors. The armada launched. Its size alone was meant to send a message. The galaxy watched as it approached the invisible border. This time, the Council ordered constant transmission. Every ship streamed data nonstop. The moment the first line was crossed, all systems were green. No interference. No human ships. Once again, human space appeared empty. The armada stopped as planned. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Confidence returned to the chamber. Some council members declared victory. They claimed the First Fleet must have suffered a rare anomaly. Plans were already forming to map the region fully. That was when the data began to change. Not all at once. One ship reported delayed sensor feedback. Another showed star positions slightly off from known maps. A third detected an object that vanished when observed directly. Command ordered a full retreat. The order was sent instantly across all channels. Only half the armada received it. Within seconds, communication fracture spread. Ships began reporting conflicting realities. Some saw open space. Others saw shadows where stars should be. A few captains reported human vessels appearing briefly, not attacking, not approaching, only watching before fading away. Panic grew. Crews shouted commands that no longer matched their instruments. Then the removals began. Ships vanished one by one. No explosion. No signal loss warning. One moment present, the next absent. Data streams cut mid-sentence. Tactical maps showed empty gaps where ships had been. The Armada broke formation as captains tried to flee. But human space did not respond like normal space. Distances stretched. Escape vectors failed. It was as if the region itself refused to let them leave quickly. The Council watched in horror as their greatest force collapsed without a fight. Then, something new happened. A human signal appeared. Clear, stable, calm. A single voice spoke, neutral and controlled. You were warned. Observation was allowed. Persistence was not. The message ended. No threat followed. No explanation. Within minutes, the remaining ships crossed back over the border. They escaped not because they were stronger, but because they were permitted to leave. The survivors did not cheer. They sat in silence, shaken beyond pride. When debriefed, their stories matched in one terrifying way. Humans did not react emotionally. There was no anger, no urgency. Decisions were made instantly and executed completely. The Council could no longer deny the truth. Human space was not defended by fleets or walls. It was governed by rules no other civilization understood. Entry was tolerated once. Twice was a violation. There would not be a third chance. Across the galaxy, maps were updated. Human borders were marked in warning red. Trade routes shifted. Military plans were abandoned. And deep within human space, nothing changed. No celebration. No message of victory. Just silence. The galaxy had tested the warning again, and once again, it had paid the price. The survivors of the Armada did not speak much after returning. Their ships docked in silence. Crews walked slowly, eyes empty, hands shaking. Reports were written, but many details were missing. Not because data was lost, but because memories were unclear. Time inside human space had not behaved normally. Seconds stretched. Minutes vanished. Some officers swore they remembered hours that never appeared on any clock. Others remembered nothing at all. The Galactic Council gathered again, but this time there was no laughter. The chamber felt smaller. The warning message still hung on the central screen, untouched. Do not enter human space. Now, no one argued against it. The question was no longer whether humans were powerful. The question was how. No weapons had been seen. No fleets had attacked. Yet ships had vanished as if reality itself had removed them. Scientists from many civilizations studied the data from the surviving ships. They found patterns that made no sense. Human space was filled with structures that scanners could barely define. Massive objects existed, but they did not reflect energy normally. They absorbed scans, bent signals, and returned false readings. It was as if human technology was designed not to be seen clearly. Not hidden, but unreadable. One report changed everything. A single scout ship, damaged but intact, had recorded a brief visual before losing power. The image showed a human installation near a dead star. It was enormous, far larger than any known station. There were no weapons mounted, no shields visible, just a smooth structure floating in silence. Around it, space itself looked distorted, like a slow-moving shadow. The crew described the feeling of being watched. Not hunted, watched, as if something ancient and patient was observing their presence and deciding its value. One officer said it felt like standing before a judge, not an enemy. The council listened closely. This was the first real glimpse of human technology, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had built. Despite the fear, curiosity remained. Knowledge was power, and the galaxy needed to understand humans to survive beside them. The council approved one final mission. A single unmanned probe, built with no crew, no weapons, and no active scanners. It would drift into the edge of human space and record passively. If it was destroyed, no lives would be lost. If it returned, the galaxy might finally see the truth. The probe crossed the border without resistance. For the first time, human space responded immediately. Not with force, but with data. The probe systems filled with information it had not requested. Star maps updated themselves. Physical laws shifted slightly, but perfectly controlled. The probe detected human constructs everywhere, hidden within asteroids, stars, and even empty space. Human technology was not concentrated. It was spread like a net. Then the probe detected movement. Human ships appeared. Small, simple, no sharp edges, no visible weapons. They moved with perfect control, ignoring normal propulsion methods. They did not approach the probe closely. They circled it, calmly, like observers studying a harmless object. The probe transmitted everything live to the Council. No one breathed as they watched. A signal reached the probe. Not an order, not a threat, a statement. You may observe. You may not stay. The probe attempted to respond. Its message never sent. Instead, the probe was gently pushed backward, drifting toward the border it had crossed. No damage, no system loss, just removal. As the probe exited human space, all human ships vanished instantly. The data stream ended. The probe continued drifting until it shut down, its mission complete. The Council had its answer. It was more terrifying than war. Humans did not fight invasions. They managed them, controlled them, ended them when needed. Experts concluded that human technology was built around control of space itself. They did not rely on speed or strength. They rewrote the rules locally. If something was judged a threat, it was removed from the system entirely. No wreckage meant no retaliation. No survivors meant no revenge. It was clean, final. One question remained. Why allow observation at all? Why not erase everything that entered? The answer came from an old human record uncovered by historians. A simple phrase repeated many times in human philosophy. Choice defines responsibility. Humans allowed others to choose. The warning existed so no one could claim ignorance. Once the choice was made, the result was accepted. Across the galaxy, fear mixed with respect. Humans were not conquerors. They did not expand. They did not rule. They simply enforced a boundary that protected something important. What that something was remained unknown. But one thing was clear now. Human space was not empty. It was full of silent machines, patient systems, and watchers that never slept. The Council officially declared human space a permanent forbidden zone. Exploration laws were changed. Maps were updated. And yet, deep down, many knew this would not be the end. Curiosity, fear, and ambition had driven civilizations to destruction before. Somewhere, someone would test the boundary again. And when they did, humans would not hesitate. They never had. The declaration of human space as forbidden did not bring peace. It brought silence, and silence made the galaxy uneasy. Civilizations respected borders they understood. Human space was different. It was a rule without punishment shown, a power without display. Many accepted it. Some did not. Among the outer systems, a rising empire studied the Council's reports and saw not fear, but opportunity. They believed the Council had grown weak. They believed humans relied on fear instead of force. This empire had conquered dozens of worlds. Their fleets were vast, their weapons brutal. They believed no technology was unbeatable. To them, humans were hiding behind tricks and mystery. They argued that the previous fleets failed because they hesitated, because they followed Council rules. This time would be different. This time would be decisive. Without informing the Council, the Empire launched a strike fleet. Not an armada, a spear, fast ships, heavy weapons, automated support systems. Their plan was simple. Cross the border, locate human installations, and destroy one. A single victory would break the myth forever. Their leaders promised glory. Their soldiers believed them. As the fleet approached human space, no warning came. No message. No signal. The border remained quiet. Confident, the fleet crossed. Immediately, their sensors changed. Not failing, but sharpening. Data became clearer than ever before. Space fell calm. Too calm. Stars held steady. No interference. The commander smiled. This was proof. The humans were not watching, or could not stop them. Then the first weapon fired. A focused energy strike hit empty space where a human structure had been detected moments before. The target was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. The fleet adjusted, firing again. More empty space. Confusion spread. Scanners showed human constructs shifting position without movement, as if they were never fixed to one place. The commanders ordered full attack mode. That was when the human response came. No fleet appeared. No weapons fired. Instead, space itself changed. The strike fleet's formation began to stretch apart. Ships found themselves drifting farther from each other without moving engines. Communication delay grew by seconds, then minutes. Orders arrived too late. The fleet tried to regroup, but human space did not allow it. A calm human voice filled every channel at once. You have crossed the boundary with hostile intent. No anger, no threat, just a statement. The Empire's leaders replied with demands and warnings of war. The human voice answered once more. The warning was already given. Then the removals began. The largest warship vanished first. No explosion, no signal loss. One moment, it dominated the tactical display. The next, it was missing. Crews screamed across channels. Ships tried to flee, but engines produced less effect with every second. Space felt thick, resistant, like moving through water. Weapons failed to lock. Shields flickered without cause. Human constructs became visible for the first time. Not ships, but shapes in space, vast and silent. They did not move. They did not aim. They simply existed. Wherever one appeared, enemy ships vanished shortly after. The Empire's fleet realized too late that these were not defenses. They were filters. A desperate command ordered full retreat. Half the fleet attempted to turn back. Only a few succeeded. The rest disappeared in silence. Not destroyed. Removed from the system completely. The human voice did not speak again. There was nothing left to say. The surviving ships crossed the border and escaped. They carried no victory, only terror. When they returned home, their empire collapsed within days. Soldiers refused orders. Citizens demanded answers. Leaders could not explain an enemy that did not fight, an enemy that did not hate, an enemy that simply ended threats. The Galactic Council received the data shortly after. This time, humans sent a message of their own. It was broadcast openly to every civilization. Human space is closed. Warnings are not repeated. Intent is measured. Action is judged. The message caused shock across the galaxy. Some felt relief. Others felt fear deeper than before. Humans had finally spoken clearly. There would be no debate, no negotiation, no tests. Entry without permission would be tolerated once. Hostility would not. Scholars studied the event carefully. They noticed something important. Humans had not chased the fleet beyond the border. They had not punished the Empire further. They had not expanded their control. Their power stopped exactly where their space ended. Humans were not conquerors. They were custodians of a line that could not be crossed. In quiet systems far from human space, young civilizations listened and learned. Borders were respected. Exploration laws tightened. Fear saved lives. The galaxy adjusted, as it always did. Deep within human space, human structures returned to silence. Systems reset. Space returned to normal. No record of the removed ships remained. To humans, the incident was already finished. The warning had been ignored once. It would not be ignored again. After the failed invasion, the galaxy changed its tone. Fear was no longer whispered. It was accepted. Human space became a subject no one joked about. Trade guilds rewrote routes. Military academies removed human space from simulation maps, marking it as a permanent void. Yet one question refused to fade. Why? Why did humans hold such power, and why did they choose silence instead of rule? The answer did not come from humans. It came from within the Galactic Council itself. An ancient member of the Council, one who had remained silent for centuries, requested a closed session. Few remembered when his civilization had first joined. Fewer still knew his name. He was old, even by galactic standards, his body supported by machines older than most empires. When he spoke, the chamber listened. He said the council had lied. Not recently. For a very long time. Long before humans were known, the galaxy had discovered something deep in the outer spiral. Not a species, not a weapon, a phenomenon, a region where reality behaved incorrectly. Stars aged too fast. Space folded in on itself. Civilizations that explored it vanished. The Council called it a natural danger and marked the area as restricted. But restrictions never stopped ambition. Then humans arrived. At first, they were like many young species. Curious, fragile. They explored where others feared to go. They entered the unstable region and survived. Not by force, but by adaptation. Humans studied the broken laws of that place and learned how to stabilize them. They built machines not to control the galaxy, but to contain the anomaly. They failed many times. Entire human fleets were lost. Human worlds were damaged. But they did not retreat. The Elder paused, his voice heavy. He said the Council watched humans suffer and learned from their mistakes. When humans finally succeeded, when they sealed the dangerous region and claimed the surrounding space, the Council felt relief and fear. Humans had mastered something no one else could, something that could erase fleets without violence. So the Council made a choice. They erased the truth from records. They classified the anomaly. They allowed humans to guard it, but never to explain it. Human space became forbidden not because humans demanded it, but because the Council needed someone to stand between the galaxy and disaster. Humans accepted the role without ceremony, without thanks. The chamber was silent. The Elder continued. He said every time a fleet vanished in human space, it was not punishment. It was prevention. Ships that crossed too far risked destabilizing the sealed region. Humans removed them before they could cause a collapse. To the galaxy, it looked like judgment. To humans, it was containment. The Council demanded proof. The Elder provided ancient logs, images of space tearing itself apart, stars folding into nothing, fleets lost before humans ever fired a weapon. The data was real, verified, terrifying. One Council member asked why humans never explained this. The Elder answered simply. Humans had tried. Long ago, they sent detailed reports, warnings filled with data. The Council ignored them. Humans learned that fear was more effective than truth. A simple warning stopped more fleets than 1,000 explanations. The realization hit hard. Humans were not hiding power for domination. They were hiding danger for survival. Another question followed. Why erase intruders instead of capturing them? The answer was colder. Anything that remained too long inside the anomaly's influence could carry instability back into normal space. No prison could hold that risk. Removal was the only safe option. Across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some felt shame. Others felt anger. A few felt gratitude. But none could deny the truth anymore. Human space was not a kingdom. It was a wall. Humans were not rulers. They were guards standing between order and collapse. The Council voted again, this time unanimously. The truth would remain classified. Not out of deception, but necessity. Panic would destroy more worlds than ignorance. Human space would remain forbidden. The warning would stand. A final message was sent to humans, the first honest one in centuries. It did not ask for forgiveness. It did not offer thanks. It simply acknowledged responsibility. Humans replied with one line. Containment continues. For humans, nothing changed. They maintained their systems. They watched the sealed region. They removed threats without hatred. They carried a burden the galaxy barely understood. The truth had been hidden for too long, but now it was clear to those who mattered. Human space was not forbidden because humans were powerful. It was forbidden because something far worse was trapped behind them. The truth, once revealed to the highest levels of the Galactic Council, did not bring comfort. It brought dread. Knowing that something far worse than human power existed behind the forbidden border changed how every civilization looked to the stars. Human space was no longer seen as a threat, but as a final barrier. Yet even with this knowledge, curiosity and fear continued to push some beyond reason. One such civilization had already crossed too far. Their name was removed from most public records, but fragments remained. They had been explorers, not conquerors. Long before the Strike Fleet incident, one of their science vessels had drifted into the outer edge of human space by accident. Navigation failure. A simple mistake. Humans had allowed them to pass once, guiding them out with silent corrections to space itself. But something had gone wrong. The ship escaped, but it was changed. Years later, that same vessel emerged near a neutral system, broadcasting a weak distress call. The Galactic Council rushed to intercept it. When the ship was brought in, it showed no battle damage, no hull breaches, no radiation scars. Yet the crew was broken. Many were unresponsive. Some stared into nothing. Others spoke in fragments, repeating the same phrases over and over. Medical teams worked quickly. Physical health was stable, but mental patterns were damaged. Time perception was shattered. The crew believed they had been gone for months, while records showed only hours had passed. One survivor, the ship's science officer, was coherent enough to speak. The council ordered a closed testimony. He described human space not as a place, but as a process. Space adjusted around them, guiding them away from dangerous regions. Human systems appeared, not as machines, but as corrections. Every time the ship drifted toward the sealed anomaly, reality pushed back. When they tried to resist, the pressure increased. He said they finally saw it, not the anomaly itself, but its effect. Stars stretching like liquid, light bending into impossible angles. A feeling that the universe was breaking rules to survive. He said humans did not stand in front of the danger. They surrounded it, wrapped it, held it in place. The most disturbing part came next. The officer said something followed them out. Not a creature, not a ship, a distortion, a flaw in reality that clung to their vessel. Human systems reacted instantly. Space tightened around the ship, forcing it along a narrow path out. The moment they crossed the border, the pressure vanished. Humans had let them go, but only after ensuring the distortion was stripped away. The council asked why the crew was damaged if humans had saved them. The officer's answer was quiet. We were not meant to understand what we saw. Human systems protected space, not minds. The knowledge itself was corrosive. During the testimony, sensors in the chamber detected a sudden shift. Energy readings spiked for less than a second. Security alarms triggered, then stopped. Nothing appeared out of place. The officer froze mid-sentence. His eyes widened. He whispered one word, correction. Then he vanished. No flash, no sound. One moment he was there, the next he was not. Medical instruments showed no trauma, no energy discharge. It was as if he had never existed. Panic erupted, but the elder council member understood immediately. Something unstable had been detected. Humans had acted. A human message arrived seconds later, private and direct. Residual instability detected. Source removed. No further action required. There was no apology, no explanation, just fact. The council ordered the ship destroyed. Not out of cruelty, but fear. Human space had allowed it to escape once. That mercy could not be repeated. The vessel was dismantled atom by atom, its remains scattered into a star. The crew was quarantined for life. No one protested. Across the galaxy, the incident spread in whispers. A civilization had tried to escape human space and barely survived. Those who entered and returned were never whole again. Those who carried something out were removed without hesitation. The lesson was clear. Human space did not end at its border. Its rules followed what left it. Humans were not just guarding a place. They were guarding reality itself. Deep within human space, containment systems adjusted. One instability had been corrected. Countless others remained trapped. Humans continued their work, unseen, unpraised, and unchallenged. The galaxy slept a little easier, knowing someone stood watch. But sleep was never peaceful when built on fear. After the disappearance of the survivor, during testimony, the galaxy crossed a quiet line. Fear became discipline. Curiosity turned into restraint. For the first time in recorded history, civilizations chose not to explore a region of space. Not because they could not, but because they should not. Human space was no longer a mystery to challenge. It was a responsibility to respect. Within the Galactic Council, new rules were written. Any ship approaching the border would be turned back by force if needed. Any civilization encouraging violation would face united sanctions. This was not done to protect humans. It was done to protect everything else. The truth, now known to a few, shaped every decision. The elder council member explained further in another sealed session. He said the anomaly behind human space was not a single event or object. It was a wound in reality, slowly growing. Humans called it a fracture. It could not be destroyed. It could only be contained. Every attempt to remove it in the past had made it worse. Humans learned that stability required balance, patience, and constant correction. Human technology was built around this purpose. Their ships were not weapons. They were tools. Their stations were not bases. They were anchors, locking space into stable patterns. Their systems watched not for enemies, but for deviations. Anything that disrupted balance was removed, whether it was a fleet, a probe, or a thought carried too far. The reason intruders disappeared became clear. It was not punishment. It was quarantine. Anything that stayed too long near the fracture risked becoming part of it. Bringing that corruption back in a normal space would doom entire regions. Humans chose certainty over mercy. They erased risks before risks could grow. Many asked why humans did not share this burden, why they did not ask for help from older, stronger civilizations. The answer was painful. Humans had asked, long ago, when they were weak, when their losses were great. The galaxy had refused. The risk was too high, the cost too uncertain. Humans were left alone with the fracture because no one else was willing to stand so close to it. Over time, humans adapted. Their minds learned to work with unstable laws. Their culture changed. Survival became discipline. Emotion was controlled. Decisions were measured. This was why humans seemed cold to outsiders. Not because they lacked feeling, but because feeling had once cost them worlds. The elder revealed one final truth. Human space was not static. It slowly shifted. As the fracture pressed outward, humans expanded their containment zone. This was why their borders moved over centuries. Not conquest. Maintenance. Every expansion was another layer of protection for the galaxy. The Council understood the danger of this knowledge. If widely known, some would try to exploit the fracture as a weapon. Others would worship it. Both paths led to destruction. So the reason for the ban remained simple to the public. Those who entered disappear. Fear was easier to manage than truth. Outside the Council, life continued. Worlds prospered. Trade flowed. Children grew up believing human space was cursed or guarded by monsters. In a way, that lie kept them safe. At the border, human systems watched quietly. Distant sensors tracked fluctuations no one else could see. When instability rose, corrections were applied. When balance returned, silence followed. No reports were filed. No medals given. This was not heroism. It was duty. A young human officer once asked why they never told the galaxy the full truth. The response from an older guardian was simple. Because they will test it. Humans had learned that knowledge invited challenge. Silence invited respect. The galaxy now understood why human space was forbidden, even if most would never know the real reason. It was not fear of humans. It was fear of what humans held back. Beyond the border, stars burned normally. Time flowed correctly. Reality remained whole. That was the true purpose of human space. And as long as humans stood watch, the galaxy would survive, unaware of how close it always was to the edge. Despite all warnings, rules, and silent agreements, the galaxy was never truly united. Fear restrained most civilizations, but desperation ignored reason. In the far reaches of known space, a dying civilization made a choice that would test human space one final time. Their stars were failing. Their worlds were collapsing. They believed extinction was certain unless they acted. They had learned fragments of the truth, enough to be dangerous. Their scientists believed the fracture behind human space could be used, not contained, but redirected. They theorized that its unstable energy could restart stars or reshape planets. To them, the risk was worth it. Survival demanded bold action. If humans stood in the way, they would be forced aside. The civilization built weapons never meant to exist. devices designed not to destroy ships, but to tear open space itself. Their plan was simple and reckless. Strike human space, destabilize the containment, and harvest the energy released. They did not plan to conquer. They planned to steal from reality. The Galactic Council detected their fleet too late. Emergency warnings were sent. No response came back. The dying civilization had already committed. Their fleet crossed into human space at multiple points, spreading out to overwhelm human systems. For the first time in centuries, human space changed visibly. Human constructs activated across thousands of systems. Space darkened as anchors locked into place. Reality tightened. Human ships appeared in numbers never seen before. Still, they did not attack. They positioned themselves, forming layers around the fracture. The invading fleet fired first. Weapons struck human anchors directly. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Space screamed, not with sound, but distortion. Entire regions bent inward. Time jittered. The fracture reacted violently to the attack, pushing outward for the first time since containment began. Human response was instant. Every human system shifted from correction to suppression. Anchors fused together, forming a solid boundary of controlled space. Human ships moved into the fracture's pressure zone, absorbing stress that would have shattered other vessels. They did not retreat. They held. A human broadcast went out, not just to the invaders, but to the entire galaxy. Containment breach in progress. Remain clear. Intervention prohibited. It was the first time humans had openly acknowledged danger. The invading civilization continued firing. Their leaders believed they were winning. Energy readings spiked beyond anything recorded. Then their ships began to fail, not from human weapons, but from their own success. The fracture reached back through their weapons, destabilizing their fleet. Ships twisted. Crews vanished. Reality folded inward. Humans acted without hesitation. They removed the entire invading fleet from existence. Not ship by ship, all at once. A single correction applied across space. The invaders were erased so completely that even their point of origin destabilized briefly before stabilizing again. The cost was high. Several human anchors collapsed. A handful of human ships were lost, absorbed into the fracture to reinforce containment. Humans accepted the loss silently. There was no celebration, only adjustment. The fracture calmed. Human space returned to silence. The Galactic Council watched in horror and awe. They had witnessed the truth directly. Human space was not invincible. It was under constant strain, and humans were the only reason it held. After the event, humans sent one final message to the galaxy. It was longer than any before. It explained nothing in detail, but its meaning was clear. This was the last test. Any future attempt will result in total erasure of the source civilization. No exceptions. The galaxy listened. The dying civilization was gone. Not defeated, corrected out of reality. Their gamble had failed, and the galaxy survived because of human resolve. Deep within human space, repairs began. New anchors formed. Systems recalibrated. Humans returned to their endless watch. The final test had been given. The answer was absolute. After the final test, the galaxy changed forever. The destruction of the last invading civilization left no doubt. Human space was untouchable, incomprehensible, and absolute. No fleet dared approach. No diplomat argued. No scientist attempted exploration. The message was simple and clear. Humans were not conquerors nor negotiators. They were guardians of reality itself. The Galactic Council met in emergency session after reports of the final test reached them. The chamber was silent, tense. Not one member laughed or argued. The full scale of human power had been demonstrated. Not in war, not in conquest, but in absolute control over the very fabric of space. The council elder who had long revealed the truth spoke quietly. This is what we ignored for centuries. This is why human space is forbidden. This is why humans do not warn twice. Across the galaxy, civilizations reacted in different ways. Some were relieved. They had survived and learned restraint. Trade guild adjusted routes to avoid the outer spiral entirely. Colonies on border systems reinforced deflection protocols. Stars and planets once thought safe were treated as vulnerable. Every map was updated to mark human space not as a region of exploration, but as a sealed void. Others reacted with disbelief. Scholars wrote treatises attempting to explain how humans could do what no technology, no fleet, no empire had ever achieved. Some argued that humans must have discovered a weapon beyond comprehension. Others said it was the anomaly itself responding to human presence. These arguments became irrelevant as no one dared to test them. The galaxy understood the truth by observing consequence rather than explanation. Even the most ambitious civilizations accepted the boundaries. Ambition became tempered with fear. Generations grew up hearing the stories. Young pilots and explorers were taught the simple lesson: do not enter human space. Those who try do not return. It was a story repeated across the stars. No one questioned the outcome, because questioning it invited removal. The galaxy had seen humans act once, twice, and in the final test, and it was enough. The Galactic Council took action. They restructured borders. Human space was officially classified as absolute void in all maps and records. Communications and navigation systems were updated to automatically redirect travelers away. No request to enter could be sent or received. It was not a law. It was a warning enforced by reality itself. Council fleets were reassigned to protect neutral regions and maintain trade, rather than confront human space. In distant sectors, stories spread of the last fleet that had crossed the border. Survivors of the galaxy told of fleets erased, of reality bending, of ships vanishing without a trace. The accounts matched the official record of the final test, but they were never fully believed. The lesson was always more powerful than the tale. No civilization could ever again approach human space. Those who tried had already disappeared. Those who survived the edge never returned unchanged. Meanwhile, inside human space, nothing had changed. The anchors had been repaired. Systems were recalibrated. Human ships patrolled silently. Humans did not celebrate victory. There was no joy in removing a civilization, no pride in the power displayed. To them, it was simply duty. The galaxy remained fragile, and any failure could allow the fracture to grow again. Humans worked tirelessly, silently, unobserved. The elder council member made one final point during the debrief. Humans are not tyrants. They're custodians. They do not expand. They do not rule. They only ensure the galaxy survives its own ambition. And the galaxy must now live with the consequences. As decades passed, a new equilibrium emerged. Civilizations learned to thrive without testing human space. Trade prospered in safer regions. Alliances formed along neutral borders. Technology advanced in ways that respected the known limits. Fear became a tool, not a handicap. Every generation understood that some boundaries could not be crossed without consequences beyond comprehension. Human space, meanwhile, remained untouched. Stars moved naturally. Planets spun in silent orbits. Human constructs continued their watch. The fracture behind them remained sealed, carefully maintained. Any anomaly detected was corrected instantly. Humans acted without recognition, without reward. Their duty was not acknowledged by the galaxy, but it was essential for every life that continued beyond the border. The final broadcast from humans to the galaxy was simple. One line repeated across all known space. Human space is not forbidden by choice. It is forbidden by survival. The meaning was clear. Humans were not cruel, not tyrannical, not merciless. They were final. They decided when to act and acted with precision. Any attempt to challenge them risked total erasure. And so the galaxy adapted. Silence replaced curiosity. Observation replaced exploration. Ambition was tempered with restraint. Every civilization, from the largest empire to the smallest colony, understood the rule. Human space was untouchable. Those who had survived previous incursions taught the lesson. Those who had failed were erased entirely. The truth was absolute. Yet even in this order, fear lingered. The galaxy thrived, yes, but it remembered. Every star, every planet near the Forbidden Zone, bore the memory of the fleets lost, the ships erased, the civilizations corrected from reality. No one dared to forget. Human space became legend, law, and silent authority. And all the while, humans continued their eternal watch. The galaxy had accepted the truth. Human space was untouchable. Humans were final. And all that remained was to survive under that reality. The galaxy had finally learned its lesson. For centuries, civilizations had tested, ignored, or underestimated human space. Fleets vanished. Probes disappeared. Entire civilizations have been erased in moments. Yet, only now did every being truly understand the nature of humans. It was not their ships, their weapons, or even their intelligence that made them feared. It was their finality. Humans did not fight. They judged. They decided. And they removed without hesitation. The Galactic Council convened one last time on the matter, but the discussion was short. No one spoke of attack or diplomacy. Maps were updated. Routes were redrawn. Borders marked clearly in warnings that could not be ignored. Human space was now labeled as absolute void across every chart, every registry, and every communication network. Even the bravest officers no longer considered testing the boundary. The galaxy had seen what happened to those who ignored the warning. Those who crossed human space and returned were few, and they were never the same. Those who vanished were never meant to return. In the deep voids near the border, the final fleets that had survived prior encounters whispered stories. Stories of time stretching and bending, of stars behaving incorrectly, of reality itself resisting their presence. They spoke of human constructs that were not just technology, but extensions of a force that the galaxy could not comprehend. These constructs were everywhere. Small ships, massive stations, even invisible networks that corrected instability faster than any fleet could react. Humans had built a system that was not merely defensive, but absolute. A fleet from a minor civilization attempted a reconnaissance mission years later. Only a small probe was sent, designed with stealth in mind, carrying no weapons, no crew, no purpose beyond observation. It crossed the border and transmitted images briefly. They showed nothing conventional. Structures larger than any city, stretching into space, moving silently, yet not attacking. The probe tried to return. It never did. The signal ended abruptly. Analysis showed the probe had been corrected, removed from human space, and placed back outside, completely intact but unable to transmit further. The message that followed from humans was chilling in its simplicity. Do not attempt again. It was not a threat. It was fact. In human terms, the warning had already been given. Any attempt beyond that point will be final. Any action against human space will be corrected with absolute certainty. This was a law enforced not by weapons, but by reality itself, carefully monitored and maintained by humans. Civilizations across the galaxy began to see the truth in their own history. Fleets that disappeared were not failures of planning or misfortune. They were consequences. Ships that vanished had been evaluated and removed before they could destabilize reality itself. Humans had not acted out of anger or conquest. They had acted to protect the balance. The galaxy had survived countless mistakes, but only because humans had judged correctly every time. Even legends began to form. Pilots whispered in quiet starports about the silent judges of human space. Traders spread tales of ships crossing the boundary, returning in fragments, haunted and broken. Children learned these stories as cautionary tales. Do not enter human space. Do not test it. The lesson was simple, but absolute. Curiosity could not overcome finality. Survival depended on obedience. In human space itself, life continued in quiet determination. Humans repaired damaged anchors, recalibrated observation systems, and monitored every anomaly. They did not celebrate victories. They did not announce their corrections. Every fleet removed, every probe erased, Every civilization prevented from destabilizing the fracture was treated as routine. To humans, it was simply duty. They had accepted responsibility centuries ago, and they continued without question. There was no recognition in the galaxy, only survival. The last few centuries reinforced the truth further. No civilization dared approach. No fleet tested the boundary. The galaxy had become careful, restrained, patient. Stars moved naturally. Planets rotated peacefully. Trade and travel flourished in safe zones. But the memory of those who had disappeared remained alive. Fleet records, warnings, and stories ensured that no one forgot. Human space was untouchable. Humans were final. Those who entered with intent beyond observation would not be returned. One historian of the galaxy wrote, "Humans do not warn twice. Their silence is not mercy. Their watch is eternal. Those who disappear are corrected, not out of cruelty, but necessity. It is the only way to survive when the universe itself bends unpredictably. To cross human space is to challenge reality, and no one survives that challenge." As the galaxy adapted to this understanding, humans continued their unseen work. Systems monitored instability. Reality was held in place. Corrections were made instantly, without error. Human technology had become so entwined with the natural laws of the universe that no anomaly could escape their influence. Nothing escaped correction. No one crossed human space unpunished. No one approached without consequence. The galaxy survived because humans had accepted the impossible burden. And so the story of human space ended not with conflict, not with conquest, not with glory. It ended with obedience. The galaxy learned that some boundaries could not be tested. Some rules were not negotiable. Some civilizations were not meant to survive the curiosity of others. Humans had become final arbiters. Their watch was eternal. The last transmission the galaxy ever received from humans was simple, direct, and absolute. Human space is not forbidden by choice. It is forbidden by survival. Those who disappear were never meant to return. The galaxy obeyed. It learned, and it survived, under the silent vigilance of humans who would never intervene without purpose, who would never celebrate, and who would never allow a mistake to unfold twice. Reality itself was their domain, and the final lesson was clear. To enter human space without respect was to vanish forever and without warning. The story of humanity had become legend, but it was no myth. It was fact, and the galaxy would carry that truth through every generation, every civilization, and every star. Humans were final, and human space could never be crossed.